All right, we're going to dive into part 2 of chapter 2, Belonging to Life by Mary O'Malley, The Journey to Awakening. These are very long chapters, and I know nobody really wants to listen to anything audio for longer than 30 minutes. Plus, I'm the Good Shepherd here on my small hobby farm, and I tell you what, anytime I start the video, it's just these roosters. We have 11 roosters here on the farm, and they are quite vocal. I'm going to go ahead and dive right in, picking up where we left off yesterday. I will not apologize for my rooster's cock-a-doodle-doing, and I'm an unscripted person. I'm not raw, I am real. I'm here to read this book, and so even with my rooster's cock-a-doodle-doing, I'm still going to read. I'll just get louder. Chapter 2, continuing, part 2. It is important to see how far removed from life we are. Imagine that a woman is sitting in a car at a stoplight next to you, and suddenly you have the ability to overhear her internal conversation. It might go something like this. Why is the light still red? I'm already late now, and now I'm going to be later, and my boss will get mad at me. This stoplight is going to ruin my whole day. The boss will probably pour extra work on me, and I'll have to skip lunch. The girls are going to go to Freddy's to eat, and they have the most divine chocolate cheesecake. Maybe I could even buy an extra one to help me get through the afternoon. So what if my clothes don't fit anymore? Joe is always nagging me so much about my diet that I just don't care. My only joy is chocolate anyway, so why shouldn't I have some? Well, we were going to Hawaii, and I can't fit into my swimsuit. Oh, why don't I have any willpower? Joe is right. I'll go to the gym and work out tonight. Oh my God, the light is green, and I didn't even notice. Most of us live in conversations like this most of the time. It's much like being in a theater, totally reactive to the images on the screen, forgetting that it is just a movie. No matter how scary or enthralling it isn't the real experience. If life does capture our attention, usually through pain or something that startles us, it only lasts for a moment before the conversation about the experience interjects its opinion. So we miss most of life and the subtle invitations it is giving us, the smell of the morning air, the blue of the sky, the beauty of our loved one's face, the exquisiteness of silk on bare skin, the touch of another's hand, the sound of children playing in the yard next door, the taste of a fresh, crisp fall apple. We rush by these experiences, always on the train of becoming, constantly trying to get our lives and ourselves together. Underneath all of this becoming, we are hungry for now, hungry for the place of again belonging to and trusting our own lives. How do we reconnect? One of the core ways is to use our senses. No matter what the mind is doing, our body is always speaking to us, inviting us back into a full experience of life. The living moment is full of sounds, sensations, smells, colors, and many times throughout the day, tastes. Also, the constantly changing river of breath is a core doorway back into life and can become a sanctuary from the ever-struggling mind, a place we can rest and reconnect. There's no accident that when something is right, we say it makes sense. Or if something is out of control, we invite them to come to their senses. In order to use our senses to reconnect with life, we first need to make friends with our bodies. Then we will explore the opening that each of our senses offers. And finally, we will open to the best friend in awakening we will ever have, our breath. Making friends with our bodies. Here's a little poem. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over again announcing your place in the family of things. To uncover the living experience of life does not take time. Yes, it does. It does take time. We have buried our openness to life under layers of doing, controlling, and contraction. Deep and painful experiences have desensitized us to life, causing us to retreat into the maze of the mind. To step out of our addiction to being lost in thought requires that we make friends with our bodies and that we learn to feel again, both the wonderful feelings and unpleasant. For most of us, this is a scary thing to do. Our bodies felt feelings when we were young that were both terrifying. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Alexa, volume down. Sorry about that interruption. Alexa, volume down. For most of us, this is a scary thing to do. Our bodies felt feelings when we were young that were both terrifying, rage, longing, sadness, and fear, and socially inappropriate, exuberance and sexuality, to name a few. So we learned to live from the forehead up, freezing these feelings in our bodies. In order to stay unconscious, we only give our bodies fleeting attention and then abuse them with extremes of food, inactivity, overwork, and the social drugs of alcohol, caffeine, nicotine, and sugar. When our bodies give us the feedback that all is not in balance, we rail at these demands and often flood them with even more toxicity. In our unconsciousness, we experience this gift of a body as an alien object that resides in the realms below who we really are. Usually, we only listen to our bodies when they call out in pain. Because we're not at home, the body is a repository for our emotional pain, becoming the enemy and a scapegoat for all sorts of problems. Many religions see it as something less than, a defilement of the spirit. It is interesting to note that most of our swear words are a judgment about some function of this exquisite creation. No wonder we move through our lives in such a disconnected way. To come back into our bodies is to come back into our wholeness and into a deeper experience of life. To be present in our bodies is to access the health and energy we have yearned for, allowing us to consciously engage with the reservoir of wisdom that is always there. Let's experience now what it is like to be in a body where our energy is not blocked, so we can access the health and wisdom we long for. The key to connecting is to suspend all judgment and expectation and simply be curious about what is. We can do this at any time of the day. The sound of a beeping watch can be very helpful to remind us to take just a moment to drop into our bodies and discover what is there. It is also glorious to allow ourselves to have fun with our bodies again. Find a grassy area and do log rolls, somersaults, or even cartwheels if your body allows. Cartwheels are beyond my scope now. I was just writing about this. Oh my gosh. I even just said, I can't do a cartwheel. I'm sure I can, but I can't because I lack that now. Inner confidence, because I'm so real now. I know if I do a cartwheel, more than likely I'm going to break my arm. Cartwheels are beyond my scope now, but give me a gradual slope and I revel in the joy of rolling over and over again down the hill. You could also find a pool that has a slide into the water, or maybe a river with a rope swing. Watch children and see how natural they are in their bodies. When I'm speaking away from home, I look for a park so that I can reconnect with my being in my body through the joy of swinging. The children playing there also remind me what it is like to be truly alive. But we don't have to have a park. We can simply drop into our bodies throughout our day. Whether we're in line at the grocery store, washing dishes in our kitchen, or waiting for the bus. In those moments of being fully embodied, we discover that whatever we pay attention to becomes more alive. Another wonderful way to access the wisdom of the body is to ask it how it wants to move and to stand quietly until the movement begins of its own accord. The glorious dancer Bill T. Jones, when interviewed by Bill Moyers, said, "I think that movement is liberating, that it is good for you. The body is a reservoir of all sorts of tensions and dark forces, and it is also a potential source of amazing energy. Movement begins to negotiate the distance between the brain and the body, and it can be surprising what we can learn. Through movement, we can discover how to live in our bodies again." I have found that when a heavy emotional state is on the verge of engulfing my awareness, if I take a few moments and allow the body to express the feeling, the process becomes fluid and waves of insight and mercy begin to flood my being. For example, when anger begins to move to the surface of my awareness, I often find myself very restless, easily distracted, and uncomfortable. At the point awareness kicks in and I realize that something is asking to be met, I find it safe and even enjoyable to open to the feeling, simply being present for the experience. I now know the joy of anger, freed up from fear. It is a passionate, alive, sensual feeling, and the more I am present with it, the more skillfully I am able to work with it in my daily life. In order to truly listen to the body, it is necessary to know the truth, that it is a storehouse of hidden knowledge with a richness beyond our wildest imagining. It is for us, and it is for life, even with all of our aches and pains. Nestled in the heart of every communication from our bodies, whether these feelings are pleasant or unpleasant, is great wisdom. We have gotten lost in the idea of pathology, thinking that if the body is uncomfortable, something is wrong and must be exorcised by denial, drugs, or surgery. If we observe the body carefully, however, we will notice that it is committed to maintaining a balance that promotes health. We can see this in its adjustments around the temperature. If it's too cold, we will shiver to create heat. And if it's too hot, it sweats in order to cool down. This can also be seen in the acid-alkaline balance of the whole body and in fluctuations of the heart rate. The fruits of this reconnection with our bodies can enrich our lives in so many ways. The body is wisdom itself. Listen, Chiquita Banana. The body is wisdom itself, a source of insight, support, and clarity that comes from the heart of life. We've been gone so long that we have bought into the illusion that with all of its disturbances and discomforts, it is the enemy. Nothing is further from the truth. The intelligence that orchestrates life communicates to us through the sensations, the ecstasies, and the difficulties of our bodies. Not only is the body a sea of intelligence that is constantly working towards balance and order, but it is also a most skillful partner in the dance of life. As we learn to listen to it, it will tell us more quickly than the mind will whether a situation is safe or not. It will also tell us what the best course of action is among the many choices we have to make in any given situation. Our job is to learn how to pay attention, responding rather than reacting, listening rather than always trying to fix, making friends with this exquisite creation of life. After my mother had taken her last breath, it was evident that what lay there on the bed was just a shell, a former home for her spirit. I was amazed at how quickly her body became cold and eventually stiff, when the life force was no longer animating it. I was also stunned at how deeply I take my life for granted, forgetting that someday it will end. Lift your hand to your cheek and feel the warmth. At this moment, you are being given the gift of life, a gift that is yours to treasure for however long it is here. The amazing thing is that none of us knows when it'll be taken away. It could be 7 decades from now or this afternoon. We have very little control over that, but we do have the opportunity to become consciously and creatively engaged with this wondrous gift we have been given. It doesn't matter if we're caught in a traffic jam, late for an important meeting, or are struggling with the fear of being fired. We are still here, alive in this moment. Our mind may be somewhere else, but the rest of us is engaged in the only moment that truly matters, which is now. It makes no difference if we've gained 10 pounds and can't fit into the dress for the party. We are still here. It doesn't matter if our partner left us and we're deep in the throes of a broken heart. We are still here. Are you ready to live in this moment? To actually be here for your life? Are you ready to free your attention from the maze of struggle and use it instead to connect with life? In order to do this, you need to groove a pathway from the struggling, controlling, fearing mind back into the living experience of your life. Our senses are the doorway. No matter what the mind is doing, they reconnect us with here and now. Is there any accident that the phrase coming to our senses means getting clear again? Our senses are a wonderful place to learn the art of engaging with life. Each of these exquisite gifts can, in their own way, invite us back into the magic and wonder of life. There is almost no greater joy I know of than to be lost in an old pattern of struggle and suddenly be awakened by the sound of a bird, the smell of a campfire, or the sensation of my breath moving in and out. I just wrote this almost verbatim. I didn't write it. I did write it. But first, I witnessed it. I lived it. When the sheep shearers were here this morning, I literally posted a video on my TikTok this morning that said, the sound of birds chirping, protective dog barking, and here I am enthralled with the sound of it all. But really, it's the sound of the shears that has me feeling euphoric. Bizarre. When my children were little, excuse me, I was washing dishes one day with my attention firmly ensconced in a maze of struggle. The struggle crystallized around a challenge in one of my children's lives. I was slowly trundling down the steep slope of overwhelm when all of a sudden awareness kicked in. I am lost in thought again, and what is happening is that I am washing dishes. I brought my attention to the sensations I was experiencing in that moment. Warm water, the smell of the soap, the sounds of a pan against the sink, and a utensil against the pan. At first, my mind wanted to go back into the struggle, but I gently and persistently kept on bringing it back to the actual experience. Soon, my mind began to settle, and my awareness could see, rather than being lost in, this old and very familiar pattern of overwhelm. With my awareness freed up from the struggle, I could now make skillful choices around this challenge. I was able to pull myself out of struggle because I have cultivated awareness of my senses, using them as a place to rest from the ever-forward tumbling of the mind. As one of my teachers once said, where there is awareness, there is choice, and where there is choice, there is freedom. Now, let's move on to the mysterious workings of our senses, learning how to connect with them so that we can become more alive. I invite you to experience as much as you can while you are exploring each of the senses in the following sections. The invitation is to not just read, but to feel what is being evoked. All of the information presented in each section is intended to awaken your senses so that they can become a doorway to seeing back into your life. Let's start with the sense of seeing. Take a moment and recognize that right now you are using your eyes to see. It took a long time for eyes to evolve. In Earth's youth, there were no eyes. At the beginning of life's ability to see itself, it discovered how to create cells that could tell the difference between dark and light. These specialized cells evolved to the point that they could perceive motion, then form, and finally, a wide spectrum of details and colors. Your ability to read this book is possible because of all that has come before. At this point, seeing has become the king of senses for the human being and has a tendency to dominate all of the others. 70% of the body's sense receptors are clustered in the eyes. It is also the sense that can extend the furthest. To taste or touch something, it has to be very close. To smell or hear it, there can be more distance, but our eyes can take us almost anywhere, being able to receive information from as far away as the Pleiades and in the next moment to explore the heart of a flower. Seeing is really receiving. Sight is the experience of actual particles of an object in the form of photons, flooding our retina. They are then translated into electrical impulses that travel along the optic nerve to the brain. Seeing is not so much extending out as it is letting in what is before us. The only reason we can even see any object is because it is flooding us with itself. To stop the restless searching of the eyes and to really focus on what is before us connects us with here and opens us to a facet of our destiny, the ability to bear witness to life. To see brings us out of the wanderings of past and future back into the immediacy of the moment, back into the magic and mystery we have lost sight of. Seeing can also open us into deep reverence. All right, let's move on to touching. Right now, as you sit here reading this book, a symphony of sensations is dancing throughout your body. There is the pressure of the book on your hands, maybe tingles somewhere in your legs or warmth in the small of your back, the caress of air on your cheeks, the gentle feeling of clothes moving against your body as you breathe, and maybe a hint of tension in your neck. You are always touching and being touched, whether it is the pressure from the back of the chair, the caress of a loved one's hand on your skin, or the softness of a baby's cheek. Touch is the mother of all of the other senses. For each of them is simply a highly refined expression of touch. Air molecules touching our eardrums and turning into a song. Atoms that were once part of a pot of homemade soup wafting through our nose and bumping up against the taste sensors of our tongue. And photons of light bouncing off the retina of our eyes. We define ourselves more by touch than any other sense. It is the first sense to awaken, being caressed by the amniotic fluid in the womb, and the last to leave, being long after hearing, sight, taste, and smell have faded away on our deathbed. We can get along without taste, sight, hearing, and smell, but to be cut off from touch means certain death. We would not be able to orient ourselves physically, experiencing either traumatic injuries or simply withering away as the children did in the orphanages of the 19th century. Premature babies who were touched, rather than being left in the isolation of their incubators, were found to gain weight 50% faster than those who were not touched. They also were more alert and responsive. Children who are touched a lot when they are young literally connect more neural synapses in their brains. One of the main reasons this happens is that when we were just embryos, we came in 3 layers, each of them turning into 2 or 3 of the major systems of the body. The outer layer of the embryo turned into the skin and the nervous system, so it could be said that the brain is the inner part of the skin, or the skin, the outer part of the brain. To touch and be touched is to enhance and enliven our whole experience of being alive. Let us now explore the magic of touch. Okay. Working with touch does not mean feeling everything in our lives. That is physically impossible. What we are doing here is using touch to retrain our awareness in order to pay attention to life. Amazing things can be discovered, things that usually we miss when attention is caught in the forward tumbling of thought. In order to become curious about touch, be willing to explore your world with your eyes closed. If you have a friend who can do this with you, put on a blindfold and either have your friend lead you around or bring you a variety of objects with different surfaces, ones that are smooth and rough, moist and dry, hard and soft. As you come in contact with an object, move beyond mass, weight, height, and contours. Move beyond forming ideas about it and stay in the realm of experience, exploring the object exactly as it feels. When we rely predominantly on sight to experience our world, our fingers become nothing more than tools that do sight's bidding, and we miss so much. Without sight to rely on, the fingers can discover amazing things. Everything is unique and highly different and also has a presence. Everything is radiating itself. With eyes closed, we can perceive that when we touch something, it touches back. The extraordinary thing is that even though there is a symphony of sensations happening right now, there is no touch that is ordinary. My birds are starting to go a little crazy here. We can also open to the realm of touch by connecting with another person. Amazing things happen when one human being touches another. We need touch, but most importantly, we need conscious touch. A moment when somebody is connecting with us, skin to skin, and is also aware that this is happening. When we touch another, pathways of sensations travel at lightning speed throughout both our body and the one we are touching. Whole worlds are born with a simple touch. The body becomes alive with energy and information digesting the touch and allowing it to transform the whole organism's experience of the world. Be willing to touch somebody today with conscious awareness, whether it is holding someone's hand, a hug, a handshake, or the overall bodily experience of a massage. Have moments when you allow yourself to be awed by the experience of contact. I'm going to move on to listening, and I might have to call it a wrap there. When we were very young, we lived inside of a symphony. The thrilling flute of a bird song vibrated within us and was as fascinating as the percussion of a slamming door. We didn't just hear with our ears, we heard with our whole being. We lived in a world of music, every sound and note in the tapestry of life. Everything had its own song. Our house, the trees in our yard, the fly on the windowsill. As we began to contain ourselves and become guarded towards life, we closed off, placing filters over our experience of hearing. On some level, this closing off is necessary in our extremely noisy society. We hear more new sounds in a year of our lives than our grandparents heard in their entire existence. But this filtering has become an ingrained habit rather than a conscious choice and leaves us little ability to be open to sound in ways that can heal and touch us. Nourishing sounds like birds singing, the gentle patter of falling rain, and the whisper of the wind in the trees. We can understand sound when we comprehend that it is energy in motion. The universe is vibration. Absolutely everything, from every single cell to your body, and even the earth itself has a frequency at which it vibrates. I'm not going to be able to keep reading. Let me explain something to you about my birds. I'm the Good Shepherd Natalie here, and I'm out here all full time. This is my hobby farm. These are my pets, and they are they're so in tune with me, my body, my mind, my soul. They feel any little shift, and they literally felt me when I just read a few minutes ago that I was going to probably read a little bit more and stop. We're going to stop there for today. I can't believe any of this. I mean, and this whole thing about the birds, this whole chapter has been on listening to the birds, and that's what I've been all week. You know, and it is spring, so spring has sprung, and there's all these birds chirping, so it makes sense that I'd hear more birds. Hey, get off her! Hey, enough! I gotta get out here to my flock here. This is just insanity. Thank you.